Hey guys, Sean Zinn, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor. It is the Connection Conversation Show. It's all about providing value, bringing you information, value, tips, strategies that you can utilize and implement in a daily. And it could be for business, it could be for life. And I want you to sit back and relax, enjoy. It could be lunchtime wherever you are, have a nice drink, what have you. Take some notes as well. Please, a little behind the scenes stuff. I need you to make sure you drop a hashtag live if you're watching live, hashtag replay on the replay. And don't forget, where are you watching from? And are you a business owner? Drop a comment with your website. Let's use this for a networking opportunity for all of us to connect. Let me bring on a new face that you haven't seen yet, and one that we've been working and collaborating often with Michael Carvajal. What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sean.
What's up, Chris? Thanks so much for coming. Chris, as always, I'd love to have you introduce yourself and tell us how, when you go to like a networking function, how do you introduce yourself? Who are you and what you do?
Okay. Well, my name's Chris Wisniewski. I'm the owner of Select Us. It's a credit coaching and consulting company. We specifically work with home buyers, people that are looking to purchase a home that have credit issues or looking to refinance a home that have credit issues. So basically, I'm the credit coach.
The credit coach with home buyers, and that's what we're all about as far as helping those that are looking to go from renting to owning. And if you're owning, maybe, get a second home, upgrading, investing, what have you. Mike, you want to say anything before we get started?
Yeah, I'm Mortgage Mike Carvajal. Most of y'all know me already. I'm the mortgage magician. I've been doing mortgage financing for over 2 decades and working with gentlemen like Chris and yourself to put people in a position to leverage for what they're looking to do.
Thanks for coming, guys. Pause for a second. Now I'm fired up because this is something that we could help more people with, because a lot of people have shitty credit, right? So if we could help them, we're going to put them in a better position. And that could be for insurance, for buying properties, to help them with everything in life, because everything kind of centers around a credit score. But Chris, that's why I wanted to collaborate with you and Mike, and let's teach some things today for those that are out there, a little bit more what you do. As far as you were talking about budgeting, you were talking about increasing credit scores, talking about helping others. Please, Chris, help us.
So in the credit repair industry, what everybody does really is send out a bunch of dispute letters. Okay. What happens with the dispute letters, you could possibly get some things removed, but most of the time, a lot of these things come back verified. Okay. What I do that's different, and what we're doing, and we've been doing now, I've been doing this since 1989, is actually moving people to one spot to the next, from say a rental or living with their parents to actually owning their home, owning an asset. Okay. I also teach them, after they own the home, how to leverage the asset. Okay. So when you're looking at credit, okay, credit's done to a formula. It's an algorithm, okay, like everything else, okay? What we do is we design something specifically for that individual. So if you have somebody that, say, has 10 collections or 10 charge-offs, okay, now you have somebody else that maybe has student loans and no credit, okay? Their scores could both be bad, but we're also focusing on it in a different way. In other words, and Mike could chime into this, a lot of times with a government loan, if you have a defaulted student loan, you can't get a VA or an FHA loan because a lot of times it's on a CAVERS report.
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah, so a dispute letter is not going to help you with that. And that's where everybody focuses on disputing it. After 6 months, a year, 2 years, they find out they're not going anywhere. What we do with a client like that is we actually take them and get the CAVERS report removed from their name. So this way it gives access to Mike. We also teach them how to build credit. Okay. When you have a loan that comes in that, let's just say they don't have a ton of repos, collections, charge-offs, things like that. They just have the student loans are in default and they don't have any credit. Something like that, we could actually turn that deal around from that person renting to actually owning a home in less than 60 days. And that's realistic.
I've seen it firsthand. Chris and I have worked with people for the greater part of 20 years. I met him 22 years ago, back in the day, as they say. And we're both still in it to win it. And, I've had clients that Went with other credit repair companies, and we're kind of put on this kind of drip thing where they gave money every month, and it just didn't go anywhere really. I mean, you get what you pay for, like anything else. And bringing him to Chris is an advocate, much like myself, right? And what do we always say, Sean? An advocate's a person that speaks for people who can't speak for themselves about whatever the situation is, whether it be credit repair, whether it be insurance, whether it be mortgage financing. These are all three very important things that if I am a full-time landscaper, police officer, commercial fisherman, painter, CPA, whatever, I don't have the means or to look into this all day. Of course you can, but do I want to dictate what's wrong with me, or do I go to a doctor? I do. I go to a doctor. I don't feel good. I got a headache. I have high blood pressure. Whatever the situation is, you go to a trusted doctor. People, for whatever reason, and we've talked about this on other connections, this whole AI, right? The app. And Chris, you could probably touch on this as well. I'll just go to this app and it'll help your credit. That is not the case. Chris just brought up an amazing point. Student loan collections versus not having credit. There are so many different nuances. And I've seen this firsthand from Chris. We worked with a financial advisor a couple of years ago that we got his score up. We needed a 640. So Chris was talking about government loans. Folks, you don't need a 740 to get a government loan. FHA, VA, USDA. We actually can go down to a 580 FICO score, and we can actually go even lower than that in certain situations. But, not everybody has to be a home run. And that's what Chris is trained to do, to say, look, do we need to get this, or can we make it here to get you, again, to that next level? And then continue to work with Chris. So that way now you've got the house, but you're going to need a car in the next 24 to 48, right? Well, how are you going to do that? Continue to work with Chris, and then working on the budgeting and everything else. So again, I can definitely say that Chris has been instrumental. Time and time.
I like what you're saying. Both of you are all about relationship building. You're not going to go and Google something. You're going to actually, or try to do it yourself and make all these mistakes and put yourself in a bad position. You actually pick up the phone and actually talk to people that know what they're talking about. That's why we're on this call right now and trying to educate those that are watching. If you're in a situation that you're renting and you want to buy something, you talk to Mike, you have a conversation. He probably ends up pulling your credit. That's what you have to do in the process. And then if it's not there at the moment, he'll get you in contact with Chris, and everyone works together to collaborate to make that happen. That's something that is very important. I would love to have Chris, expound on how does it work when Mike hands it off to you? What happens?
Well, a lot of times, believe it or not, when a client has a credit issue, okay, they'll come to me, and when they have a credit issue with something, they'll say, okay, well, the X, Y, and Z is wrong. And it's something that Mike could look at and he could actually fix for himself. And he really doesn't need me. And majority of the time, that's the case. Mike's been doing this for so long that he has a good eye at looking at something and saying, okay, I need to do this, and this can happen within a matter of a week, and I get you pre-approved. Now, in the small cases that does have to come to me, okay, at that time, I have a full conversation with the client. We'll go through and we'll speak to, what's going on with the credit, what they're looking to do. And usually, when I say usually, I'd say over 80% of the time, we're able to fix the issue and get them back into purchasing a home in less than 6 months.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, we have an almost home program here at Equity Prime Mortgage. And it is what it says. You're almost home, right? 50% of the first-time home buyers that we get, guys, and again, just use me as a litmus test. I'm ranked 15th in the country by NAREP for loan originations in 2021. At the end of the day, 50% can buy and 50% can't. Some of them is because of their work history. Some of them is because of their down payment, which we have a down payment assistance program that we're working on for folks. But some of them is the credit. And that, again, is where I can bring it right to Chris, because I'm an advocate on my side, but he is even more of an advocate specifically and specified in credit and what has to be and what can be done. So what do we always talk about? Working with people at your table. You as the client, you as the homeowner, you as the head of your table, whether you're a man or a woman, whoever you are, folks, you need trusted advisors and advocates at your table. Mortgage, insurance, credit, these, and CPA, financial advisor, again, that's why we keep doing these different connection calls, because we're really trying to shout from the rooftops here, folks, that look, having bad credit, Chris, this is a good one. I've used this one, is like having a broken arm. So when we were kids and we were skateboarding and we broke our arms, what would we do? We'd go to the doctor, they'd cast our arm, and then we'd be back on the skateboard within 6 to 8 weeks. That's what Chris does. I bring him your broken arm, he fixes it, and he brings it back to me, and we get you back out there and for buying a home or a car, or whatever you really want to do.
And we get it done the right way too. I mean, a lot of times, chime in is that somebody would say, well, you have a collection. You see this on social media all the time. They'll say, don't pay off collections. Actually, sometimes paying off a collection could actually help your credit. Sometimes addressing it before the collection hits your credit, okay, that will actually help you. Other times, paying off a collection could drop your score. So not to confuse the audience, but that's why when we look at it, we're not set to look at 100 files and say, okay, we're going to do the same thing for 100 files. We're looking at each person as an individual. The other thing that we look at too is what their wants and needs are. So if they're purchasing a home and they need a VA loan or a USDA loan, we have to actually handle them differently. And Mike can tell you, because of the score requirements, usually there's different requirements in there. So we're doing these things, primarily to get you to where you need to be so you could get your loan.
Right. And I love that cavers. Again, for most of the folks on here, it's a little, second grade, and we're still in first grade here, including me. But Chris brought up a very, very good point about cavers, student loans being in default. A lot of times when people got out of college and such, and especially with what the government's been doing, people don't think they have to pay their student loans. I'm going to get it forgiven. The Biden's talking about forgiving everybody's loans. I'm sure our taxes won't go up from that. But regardless, again, that's where Chris comes in and can help and be an advocate. And that's why, I appreciate his time today, because we are looking to connect with other advocates, people that actually want to help, people that are in this. No part-timers, guys. Part-timers need not apply. If you're in this to win it, and whatever your trade or your field is, this is the kind of show that we want to get you involved in. And we want to spread this to the media, because, MSNBC, they're saying don't buy homes and credit. There's nothing you can do about it. We are the folks saying, no, you're wrong. We are the folks saying you can have the American dream. My father came here from Colombia many, many years ago, and he came here to make a better life for himself. And that was part of his thing. He worked for the government for years. He was able to become a homeowner, and he's very proud about that. And I never forgot that. My dad built his credit. He didn't have credit. He didn't know what credit was. But he built it, and he maintained it. And that's the thing that, promoting home ownership is a thing that Chris and I talk about all the time.
Sure. And
you have to have a passion for it, because if you don't, you're just going to get lost in the clutter, lost in the static or the noise. And that is exactly what we're here to do, is to provide hope, provide guidance, and to, again, empower people to know that they can do this.
And also on the credit side too, a lot of people don't understand, when you buy a home, okay, you're buying an asset. You're also, it's great for your family. You're building something together. But a lot of people don't understand on credit. That's when you really can move credit. So where do you get the lines of credit? Where do you get the credit cards from? Technically banks, right? You're getting these funds. So I always say one of the biggest things is having security. Because a lot of people, they say, well, people just don't want to pay their bills. I don't believe in that. I believe they don't have access to cash. So when you have a home, and somebody would say, well, I don't think the banks want to give me money, which is totally untrue. The banks make money off of interest. Okay. So they want to lend you money. The problem is, a lot of people that don't own a home, what do? They just walk away from it and they can dump it. When you own a home, a bank looks at it as you have an asset. So they have an asset that if you don't pay, they could sue you. But if you look at it another way, if you have an asset, you actually leverage that asset. That gives you bigger lines of credit. That gives you bigger credit card limits. So when things happen in life, because no matter how much money you make, there's always going to be something that comes up. This way you have access to those dollars to float you until you're able to get that money back. So credit works that way. Another thing credit does too, that a lot of people don't realize, is it lowers your monthly payments.
Sure.
By having good credit, you lower your monthly payments. If you take a look in some of the hottest cities in the United States right now, a lot of times you're paying more for rent than you are for owning a home.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's
So
going to
true.
continually trend up. As that trends up, I mean, I just got the phone with somebody this morning. They're paying $3,400 a month for rent
For
for a
rent.
3-bedroom. They can own their own home. Also, on top of that, they could be, leveraging the asset and building equity.
Sure. I had a conversation with a client this morning. They called it the land bank because their kids need to go to college and they were homeowners already, right? So this is just a refi opportunity that I have. And the rates are higher and the clients know, look, I'm going to be taking a little higher rate than I have on my existing mortgage, but I need $125,000 in cash. And that versus them going and trying to get an unsecured loan at 9 or 10 or 12%, or a student loan where, again, I don't have exact rates on those, but they're not much better. They find that they'd rather use the equity of the house that they have, the dead equity, if you will, that's not doing anything for them, as opposed to leveraging their assets. Because the only other thing it's going to do is you're going to, again, bury yourself in student loan or leverage your IRAs or your 401ks, which the market's very volatile right now. You don't want to be removing, the air out of the bag from your assets right now. You want to keep those diversified. And that's where, again, bringing it back to advocacy, working with guys like Sean, guys like Chris, guys like Mike, and just being in an educated position of leverage. That's why we're here this morning. That's why we're talking to you guys. It all bleeds back and forth.
It's all a mixture of collaborations of professionals that want to help other people. That's the goal, is helping others no matter what. If we have to, lead off and give you to somebody else to get the job done, that's what we do. I want to remind everyone that's watching, in the description, you'll see Chris's information. Please connect with him. You'll see Mike's information. Connect with him. That's what it's all about, making sure that we're all helping, to get to the next level. Chris, is there any final thoughts you can give us in about 60 seconds?
I know a lot of people in the past 5 years, I guess, I get a lot of calls that everybody quotes social media, what they heard on social media about credit, mortgages, and everything else. I always advise everybody to call the professionals, okay? Because a lot of times the people that are on there that are promoting a lot of different things, I mean, I hear everything from, if you pay your credit card every week, you trick the system and your credit score goes up, which that's totally 100% false. I hear everything from, adding trade lines, fake trade lines on there. You could do that, but when Mike runs the credit right before closing, a lot of times that trade line's not there. You don't have the property. So instead of trying to do all these things that really all you're doing is tying a deeper knot, I always tell everybody, go to the professionals. So when somebody says, Chris, I have a client, they have bad credit. Okay, a realtor will tell me, I'm going to send it over to you so you can look at it. I always tell them, a lot of times we could get these clients done without going through any credit coaching, credit repair. A lot of times I would say, send them over to a guy like Mike, okay, that's been in the business, that's seasoned, that knows his stuff. Let him run it. Let him look at it, okay? And at that time, if it's something that he could fix, he'll be able to fix that on the spot. If he can't, he'll send it over to me. And one way or the other, we're going to get you to where you need to be to purchase a home. And that really is the main goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the goal for sure.
Talk to the professionals, I guess that's my suggestion.
Perfect. Mike, any final thoughts?
Chris nailed it. I mean, and again, you go to a doctor if you feel sick, you go to an accountant for your taxes. Why not go to professionals like us for your credit, for your mortgage, for your insurance? You can have great insurance until you have a fire, and then you realize, ooh, I didn't have great insurance. All of a sudden it means something. You got a baby boy sitting there right there, dog.
He's trying to pipe up. He's like, come on.
That's what I'm saying.
Something, right? Is that
that's
what
I
you
mean.
said?
Like, at the end of the day, guys, we're all fathers, man. We're all people. And it's our job. Again, I am super dad. So and I'm also having my mid 40s afternoon coffee. So anybody else resonate with that one? But yeah, again, just bringing it back that, work with a professional, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. Don't try to angle dangle. The great Lou Chait, Chris, you remember Lou Chait, God bless him. Lou Chait used to say the angle dangle. That's an angle dangle move. Put in another trade line that's not yours and then having it taken off. Don't mess around paying a week this or that. You're not going to fool. Trust me, the credit bureaus and the banks are smarter than you and me.
Well,
You got to play by the rules.
It's the same thing we experience Score Boost. A lot of people look at the app and they're like, my score's going up. They don't realize that what they're doing is they're attaching everything that they sign on. They're giving up their legal rights. And another thing that happens later on, they're not going to be able to dispute these items because they're the ones that actually put it on there. And I think, Mike, you don't even look at that, do you?
No, that's amazing.
If anything, it's going against their debt to income ratio.
Yep.
So these are all things that we do, and working with professionals really tie it in. I'll give you one other thing that just came up last week. I had a client got their score up into the low 700s, which was great. The wife was in the low. She was like 652. They need a 640 to qualify on this type of loan. Okay. The husband was overpaying for his car. So, they talked about they want to now refinance the car. The mortgage rep that was doing this told them, go ahead, your score should be fine. You'll lower your monthly payments, which would actually lower your debt to income ratio.
Yeah.
When they called me, here's the problem. When they called me and the client told me what they were doing, I advised them not to do that.
Right.
Because when you close an auto loan, that's going to drop the score. So maybe the 700 score drops to 680, they still qualify. But now that 652 turns into a 620, 630, and they don't qualify for that certain loan.
Right.
Okay. So right there was just a loan officer that was just throwing something out without thinking, without going through the file. Okay. Instead of having, somebody that's an expert like Mike that's going to say, hold on, let me look at the file, let me break it down, and I'll get back to you. So after I advised the client on that, I said, listen, after you purchase your home, okay, that you're going to qualify for, then at that time, you can actually turn around and refinance that, because a lot of people don't realize when you close an auto loan, a lot of times you're going to drop that score.
Yeah. I learned that from Chris. So thank you for that, because I thought, again, common sense, folks, I'm going to pay off my debt.
Yeah, a lot of things today is not common sense, though. I mean, when I look at a lot of stuff, like you have a collection, you have a charge off, I got extra tax money, let's pay it. And you're taking good money, paying bad debt, and you're dropping your score. So what happens is you keep chasing that every week, every month, every year, and you stay in the place that you're at, instead of saying, okay, I got bricks, I'm holding up all these bricks. I got to drop these, loosen up the shoulders a little bit. I'm going to talk to the professionals. We're going to come up with a whole game plan on how we're going to map this out. So me and my family are not only just into this home this year, but we're also learning to build safety nets so this issue doesn't happen again.
That's awesome.
Yep. As everything we're talking about, you have to pick up the phone, call any one of us, and we will make sure you are going to be in a better position, because you're going to have the professional that's doing the job. If you're watching this anywhere in social media, if you're a professional, if you're a realtor, you're a broker, you want us to come in and do a presentation, we're here to provide that value. If you want to do a Zoom, a StreamYard, we're here to provide that value. We're always looking for a collaboration. So again, guys, Chris, thanks for coming today. Mike, as usual,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And for everyone else, we hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
Happy spring.